Hey, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's Mano 777, and we're back inside of Destiny. Today, we're talking about new details about the raid in Rise of Iron that is named Wrath of the Machine. This is going to include gear drops that you're going to get, the encounters that we know about so far, ways the artifacts can be used in the raid, especially with their new abilities, as well as some possible speculation about how some of those encounters are going to work. So if you find something in this video to be worthwhile, a positive rating would be greatly appreciated. Hit that subscribe button for more Rise of Iron and Destiny content. And guys, thank you so much for watching. With that, let's get started. As I said before, the raid is going to be called Wrath of the Machine. Rise of Iron is going to drop on September 20th, 2016, with the normal raid dropping on September 23rd, 2016. That only gives you 3 days to gear up, but this is in line with, like, say, for example, the Taken King and the King's Fall raid, so not a big surprise there. Gear will drop up to 385 light level gear when normal mode drops, and a few weeks later, when hard mode drops, the raid will then drop up to 400 light level gear, which I believe will also be the light cap of Destiny itself in Rise of Iron. Expect the raid to drop at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is usually when Bungie launches their raids and most of their patches. A ton of this information was gleaned from Bungie.net as well as Game Informer, so I'm going to put all of those links in the description box so you can check that out for yourself. One of the things that they talked about when Game Informer actually visited Bungie and talked to us about it is the fact that the raid is a continuation of the story arc, kind of like King's Fall, like we get to go actually into Oryx's throne world. The main campaign of Rise of Iron has to do with reclaiming Felwinter's Peak, the Iron Lords, the use of new artifacts, and your role in becoming a new Iron Lord. However, the raid itself will focus more on the development of the Devil Splicers, their role in the story of Rise of Iron, as well as the threat of Siva. We do know some very specific details of the raid. First, there will be both outdoor and indoor locations, which is pretty cool because almost all the raids we've ever done have been descents. There's maybe the small exception when you are in the King's Fall raid where you have a lot of ascents and portal transfers and things like that, and you do end up looking out at Saturn. But for the most part, all of the raids have been kind of descents into things. So this is cool that we're going to both have indoor and outdoor locations. The description of the raid on Bungie.net says that 6 Guardians will plumb the depths to find the source of the Siva, and then will return to the surface with weapons more powerful than they've ever had before. Apparently, you'll be able to see these outdoor pieces of the raid from the Plaguelands, and you can see the giant servitor kind of round-looking thing here. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But much like the opening of both King's Fall and Vault of Glass, it's possible that you can interact with that opening area of the raid, of the Wrath of the Machine raid, much like Vault of Glass. Who's ever helped people open the door on the Vault of Glass while on patrol? It's a fun and amazing thing to do. We also know some details about the themes of the raid: collision and constant mobility. This is backed up by video of the affectionately named Death Zamboni. You can see in this video that Guardians are going to have to be constantly moving, and my thought is that we're going to have to make use of certain set pieces to collide with the boss, as our guns won't probably do any damage to them by themselves. The folks at Game Informer actually said that the design was to have a bunch of stuff crashing into other stuff, and that it seemed inspired from Mad Max Fury Road. It had that kind of element to it, and if you have never seen that, it is a visually stunning movie. It's a blast to watch. In addition, the Game Informer crew also said that there were a number of surprising encounters in the raid, some of which were significantly different from what we've seen. They also said that they were some of the most challenging, unique, and fun encounters that we've ever seen in Destiny. We do know about a few specific encounters in the raid right now. We know about the aforementioned Death Zamboni. In continuing my thoughts from before, I think this is going to be some type of scrolling, time-related encounter where perhaps we only have a certain amount of real estate on the wall to stop the Death Zamboni by crashing other things into it. Running and gunning constantly while at top of the wall, and the Cosmodrome trying to stop a giant machine trying to kill you with a side scroller, or not a side scroller, but just a scroller in general, sounds like an amazing encounter. Also, we know that there is an encounter with an enemy called the Machinist. It's the huge bad guy that was revealed in the original reveal stream with the Death Zamboni. Some have speculated that Bungie would not show a significant raid boss at this time, instead that this might be the final boss of the campaign, but much like Oryx, we might see this boss in another form in the raid. There is proof, however, that this is an actual raid encounter for a number of reasons. First of all, we have a huge amount of aura and light set pieces in images featuring the Machinist. Usually these fixtures only exist in raid archetypes, not a story or a campaign or a strike. These set pieces, much like the area where you get cleansed in Vogue, the Chalice from Crota's End, or the Blights from Kingsfall, usually have something to do with the mechanics of a high-level raid activity, not a strike or a campaign. Most strike bosses have different boss phases, like Malak losing his hood, Darkblade losing his helmet, the Bond brothers moving together, but they've never featured a mechanic using aura or light set pieces before. In addition, we have a number of pictures where there are actually 6 people in the area around the giant servitor-looking thing where the Machinist spawns. In actuality, I don't believe that this is a servitor. It is made to look like one, but again, in relation to, it looks more like a shrine to their gods. That's kind of the idea that they're going for. But in actuality, it looks like it's just one of the large spheres from one of the colony ships. You can see it right here. You can see the size is about the same. And essentially, all they did is they took jet airplanes and put it on the side. Again, it looks like just a shrine to it. There are multiple media images with 6 people in the area jumping up where the Machinist spawns. Now, it's possible that Bungie has decided to change the nature of strikes and patrols so you can run with 6 people, but I believe that's highly doubtful. The only other thing that we can glean from what we've seen so far is that there might be some other mechanics that have to do with large fallen saber shanks. If you look in the pictures with the Machinist down below, you can see much larger saber shanks in the images. It's possible that we might have to do damage to them or use their weapons against the Machinist as a way to do damage to him. In addition, there are arc scorch cannons in gameplay that we've seen so far, which might have to do with some type of specific energy that can damage Siva instead of, like, say, for example, a solar scorch cannon. In addition, we get to see the Fallen and the Siva interactions in the raid. One of the main themes of the Devil Splicers are the ability to merge and use the Siva as a way to enhance their abilities. So it wouldn't be too far-fetched to see some type of basic Fallen enemy that will morph or mutate or hack with the Siva at some type in the raid to build their strength. Maybe a multi-stage boss encounter would be very interesting. The most we've ever seen with this is maybe like the Taken phase of Golgoroth or the War Priest, where things have changed once they get to a different health level. Again, maybe like Oryx's bomb phase, those kind of things. Now let's take a look at the gear that you can get from the raid. You can see that the gear is very symmetrical, which I love. It looks very like Warmindish, like I said, they said in the reveal stream earlier. The angular shapes really speak to the Golden Age idea. It kind of has that Warmindish look, and we're going to talk about that in another video where we theorize where the name Wrath of the Machine comes from. I really love the Titan's angular look, and it almost looks like Tron-like looking gear. The sharp angles look amazing. Let's finally, before we finish up, talk about the use of artifacts in the raid. Now, many of you know that the artifacts are going to change significantly in Destiny, and I'm not going to go over those now, but I'm going to talk about some different artifacts that will be a huge part of the raid and your build, and how they're going to influence the encounters that you're in. First up would be Memory of Gellion. This might be used because it allows you to keep a very detailed radar and keep the radar up when aiming down the sights. When on the move quickly and having to shoot different set pieces, it might be a nice ability to have that moving around. Next up, we've got Memory of Radagast. It would be very useful if swords allow to maintain their abilities to mitigate damage in raids and damage enemies in close quarters. Many people know that you can use the sword to block the Oversoul, or you can use it to block the Shade of Oryx when he comes into the Thunderdome in Kingsfall. This artifact allows you to reflect rockets and other significant energy-based projectiles. In a raid where collision is a huge theme, being able to reflect heavy damage would be a massive boon. Next up, Memory of Yolder allows you to sprint with no cooldown whatsoever. In a raid where constant movement is needed, the strength of this artifact doesn't really need to be explained. Finally, Memory of Silumar. The Bungie crew and Game Informer have talked about that in some areas, the Siva almost seem to cause damage over time when you're in an area of effect, and when you're too close to them, you just have a bunch of damage. So with Memory of Silumar, you can dramatically reduce damage over time effects, thereby making it possible to withstand these areas of effect or the damage over time pieces. Again, until we see the exact nature of these encounters on September 23rd, we won't know exactly what the best strat or artifacts will be. But with only 3 days to collect items to get artifacts before you raid, and the fact that Tyra Karn, the archivist, which is going to be at Felwinter's Peak, selling you those artifacts, you will only have a little bit of time to get those, so your choice of artifact is going to be very important. Alright guys, that is everything that I have gleaned about the raid, all the new details and new armor pieces and artifacts and information that I can glean. I'm going to be doing some new videos about the Siva, where it came from, theories about why that exists and what the problems are for Destiny and for the Golden Age and for the Tower in some of my next videos. So if you like something, again, hit that subscribe button if you want more Rise of Iron and Destiny content. Hit that like button if you found something in this video to be useful. Check out my Twitch live streams. It's down below. And guys, I will see you next time in the universe of Destiny.